There's an evolution taking place in what you put in your coffee. The use of plant-based milks is rapidly increasing. You might already be familiar with things like almond milk, but more nuts and grains are entering the market due to innovation in production. We wanted to see if this new wave of plant-based milks is actually more nutritious than its predecessors. So we checked out a production facility right here in our own backyard in Elma, New York.
If you look at a lot of the almond milks or any alt milks out there, a lot of them have a ton of ingredients. They'll have gums, stabilizers, emulsifiers. What we're able to do, which is really unique, and it's cool that it's coming out of Elma, is take that, but we can make products with only 2 ingredients or 5 ingredients. Really simple whole food beverages, but also have more nutrition than the competition too.
So are people just using this in cereal, oatmeal, or what else are they using it for?
I mean, all of the above. Smoothies, of course, as a smoothie base, cereal, and then one of the main uses for plant milks in general is coffee, which is great, but it's one of the things that our products were so clean, like I mentioned, with no emulsifiers, stabilizers, gums. They were so clean, they actually broke apart in coffee, and they weren't. Our original line wasn't great for that, so we found people were pouring them in coffee, expecting it to be like, you know, the competitors with all the junk in them, and it didn't look great. So that's why we launched the new barista line, which only 1 other extra ingredient, so it's still the cleanest barista line of plant milks, but now these actually you can pour in coffee, you can even steam and foam them.
You just mentioned that all the competitors have things like gums and emulsifiers. Before I came here, I tried Googling that to try and understand it. I'm still none the wiser. So what are gums and emulsifiers?
And stabilizers and oils, which we also don't add. Essentially, they're put in there to help stabilize the product and to try to replicate dairy milk, which we're not trying to do. And fortunately, through Cheryl's technology, we don't have to do. But gums try to replicate some of that mouthfeel, but there's been some evidence that's bad for gut health. Emulsifiers, again, a lot of this is, we can argue whether it's bad or good for you, but we can't argue that you might, if you have a choice to not have it, you might as well not have it in your product. But emulsifiers do just that. They help it be an emulsified liquid to basically keep in liquid form and not separate.
So how does it get made?
So if you go over to the plant, Cheryl can show you her world, which is secret, but you know, her unique technology, which helps make all this happen.
The secret world of Dr. Cheryl.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, let's go. So I'm here with Dr. Cheryl, and she invented the process that Elmhurst milk use to make their products. So yeah, tell us about where we are.
Okay, well, welcome to GNS, and GNS stands for Grains, Nuts, and Seeds, and that's what we specialize here at the Elmhurst facility in Elma, New York. And this is the warehouse where we bring in all the live and viable seeds that we start processing in the next room.
Okay, so this is where you store everything. Should we take a look at the process?
Absolutely, let's go.
Yeah, brilliant, you lead the way.
Okay. There you go.
So the thing that makes this plant-based milk stand out from the others on the market is the process that you invented. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. This is a very special process. It's called a hydro release process. And as I said, we start with raw grain, nuts, and seeds, very importantly, because we don't want to see any heating or preheating or roasting of the grains, nuts, and seeds. We want to release every nutritional component, the macro and the micronutrients, and it's the process that for 2,000 years everybody's been thinking of grinding grains to a flour and then utilizing the flour, and we realized that in packaging or using them in any of the food processes, it's very difficult or limiting to just have the flours. So we wanted to transform the grains, nuts, and seeds into an ingredient that can be used across all the different food categories. To have the milk functionality, you have to have the nutrition.
Right.
And so you can't just take water and thicken it up and make it look like a milk.
And that's what a lot of the other competitors do, right?
Exactly. And what we want to do is we want to have the same nutritional value. And plants do have that nutrition. We just didn't know until this methodology of processing how to release and get these nutritional values out and in a form that by itself it looks like a milk and starts behaving like dairy milk. And that was the key to this technology. So pulling this out of the tank, this is by the time we get to the third milk tank,
Yeah.
everything is totally released. And this is what milked product, this is milked oats. And it's got all the fiber, everything in it right now. And it's about ready to go to the next step. All the micronutrients are there is what makes the milk. Because the natural oils and there's sufficient oils in the oat, these combine with the water to make an emulsion, kind of like a salad dressing when you mix oil and water.
Yeah.
If you shake it up. Plus, the reason that it looks like milk and more opaque.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks already more or less finished.
Because of the natural proteins. So by liberating the proteins from the fibers, they give that opacity. That's what makes these milks so special and so highly digestible, because they're separated from the fiber itself. And people don't realize that when they make these milks at home, and a lot of people have made the milks at home, but when they cook it and they have the fiber and the protein together, they're removing it when they filter it. So they've actually removed the proteins. So in this case, we're going to go to an area where we actually combine all the ingredients. So as I said, in the milking tid, we separate. And that's a hydro release process, kind of like power washing, as I said. So we're not cutting or milling. This is a liberation process. By the time all the material gets to this stage, we've started to recombine it. And as I said, the hydro release, we separate because we don't want to heat treat or handle each one, the starches, the proteins, the fibers. They have to be handled differently. And so we separate them, we handle them by the necessary heat process to stabilize the products, and then we put it all back together. And this is where it happens. So by the time it finishes here, the milk is almost finished. But after that, we go into all the different types of equipment to heat stabilize it, to immediately cool it, kind of like flash pasteurization, necessary for any milk at that point. And we've got so much protein in it that we better stabilize it microbiologically.
So you do actually share quite a lot of the processes with milk?
Oh, absolutely. So these tanks keep it like a milk, refrigerated. It's ready to go for the packaging process, so it can go through the wall.
Now you see how nutritious plant-based milks can be. Check out the ingredients label on Elmhurst products the next time you're at the coffee shop or grocery store.